Hello and welcome back to the You Up podcast. I'm Jordana Abraham.
And I am Jared Freed. It is so good to be back here with you, Jordana. We are here with a very special guest. We are doing one of our SOS episodes.
Love an SOS.
We love an SOS. We love, we have our guests here with us. So you can go on YouTube and go watch our conversation with a listener. We're going to go through their problem and we're going to try our best to help them out. So Jordana, introduce our guest for us.
Welcome, Natalie. Natalie, where are you virtually joining us from today?
Virtually joining from my car in Houston, Texas.
Love it. Love Houston.
Gotta love it. I'm still mad that I missed your show when you were out here, but hopefully next time.
Next time, there's always another show. Houston, huge city.
Huge.
Huge. Like, you could be in Houston and be an hour and a half away from another person in Houston.
Oh, yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of long distance dating
right.
in Houston, the city.
That's a big thing, though. Like this, you go to Houston. And also the other thing, when I went there, every time I've been there, I'm told I'm in the wrong part of Houston. Like no one ever agrees on where you should be hanging out, what you should be doing. It's always, oh, you chose that area. Ugh. And it's like, I don't know if I can make a Houstonian happy with where I stay, where I drink. Does that ring
There's
true?
No agreed upon area.
100%. If you are on the northern side of Houston, you are definitely in the wrong spot. But they would with us who are on the southern side. So yeah, there's so many different areas, but you can't go wrong in the Galleria area. That's like the main area. So next time you make sure you go there.
We love a hometown recommendation. So we want to get into your issue at hand.
Yes. But give us some background information on you, dating history, like what brought you, and then what brought you here today.
So I am, I'm 41. I was in a 10-year relationship that ended in 2018, and took some time off from dating and, I've had some serious relationships / situationships in the past 6 years. I definitely hate dating, but I try to make the most of it, especially at this age and where we are. But the current situation, I have been, I would say, dating a guy for roughly, we've been knowing each other since September, and I would say that we really just kind of like picked back up dating in November.
How did you meet him?
I met him on Hinge.
Okay.
He is 45. I'm, like I said, 41, it was really interesting in the beginning. At one point, I thought he was too old for me, but I was like, Natalie, you're about to be 41. Like, get over it. So got over that. And, every time we're together, it is great. He's never been married. He does have a 5-year-old. He's very career oriented. And our issue, I guess, if you would say, is when we're together, it's great. We have a great time. Like, our conversation is amazing. One time we were on the phone for like 4 hours. Every time we're together for hours. But it's still like, he is in a space, and it's like, how, Jared, you always say like the answer's in the email. The answer's in the statement. Like, I know it's one of those things where it's like, should I be doing this? But he's been very vocal about like, look, like I really like you, I really care about you, I trust you, but I'm just not in a place where it's like I want to be in a committed relationship. That doesn't mean I don't want to ever, but I enjoy being with you and spending time with you. But some of the issues, and I think what prompted me to reach out initially, was like just the consistency and the communication that has been an issue with us from the beginning. And sometimes it's really good, and then sometimes it's really bad. Like, we hung out on Friday, had an amazing night, and then our communication has been like spotty since then. And so this is going on for a while.
Can you start from the beginning? So September, you meet on Hinge.
Mm-hmm.
And how does it start? Like, is it dates? And give me the consistency that we started with and how that kind of,
right.
Because you said that there was an ending, but then there's a comeback story here. So how did we start in September?
So we started in September on Hinge. Obviously, we were, messaging back and forth. The funny thing is, I wasn't that interested in him in the beginning.
The old bait and switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was not that interested in him in the beginning. Like I said, I was 40 at the time. He was 45, and I was like, oh my God, he's an old man. And I'm like,
Well, what's your age
uh,
range? Like, what do you, what is your ideal age?
you know, it depends. I've always dated older, but like at this age now, older is it just seems older. Like, I don't know if I could date a 50-year-old person, even though I am, like I said, 41. But I would say maybe at this point, like my age range is between 35 to 45.
But you are on Hinge, and he fit the range that you were searching for.
Yes,
So
I at my range was 45.
It was the
But
top of the range.
right, but I mean, even so, like when you say like I wasn't even into him, like he doesn't know that, think that, believe that. You know,
mhm,
you are a woman he's attracted to, talking to
yeah.
him. So you're, I understand what you're saying. I just, like the idea that like he tricked me, like.
No, I agree. And it was very I think it was because it was definitely more of a mental thing.
Mm.
He looked 45, and it wasn't that he looks bad. He looked like he was an adult. Like he looked 45,
So
which
you went,
is
but you went on the first date and you were like, he looks 45. I don't know. What was the first date like?
so this is what happened. I wasn't that interested in him. So he would message and I would be very aloof in my responses. I would, wait, I would take time. And then and he would be like, can I call you? Can I call you? And I was like, yeah, I'll be home XYZ. And then I wouldn't text him when I got home. So then I finally was like, he called me one morning when I was getting ready for work and we had an amazing conversation. And I was like, okay. And for me, I'm a very big person. If I can have a good conversation with you, that builds the attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Like physical appearance is, great. Like if you fit into that mold, that's great. But like if the conversation is there, I like you can hook me. And so the first conversation was really good. Second conversation was really good. And then we just kind of just kept having good conversation. So then we finally planned to meet. We were actually supposed to have a date one night. He ended up canceling that earlier that day, and he was like, I'm so sorry, like busy with work, blah blah blah. And I was like, okay. And I was like, all right, well, you're gonna have to make up for it. So then we started communicating, and I think that Friday he was like, well, I'm going to be in town, because that goes back into that long distance thing. He lives about 45 minutes from the city. Like he lives in a suburb, and it is a lot to come, it can be a lot to come into the city. So he was going to be in the city that night, and he was like, hey, let's hang out, so I was out and about, and we ended up meeting at this bar that he was going to. And I was like, yeah, let's just meet there. And we ended up having a great time, like just a really, really good time, just hanging out. Like some of my friends were there. He met some of them. It was, we just ended up having a really good time. And so the conversations kept coming. And then right after that, was my birthday. And so he took me out to dinner for like the day before my birthday. And date was great. Like I said, every time we hung out was good. But then that's when the communication was just weird. Like if we would hang out, I'm a type of person, like sometimes when I leave a date, like I'll like to call that person. I'm a very I like to talk on the phone, and he was not about that. Like he wouldn't, talk on the phone. It wasn't like he was texting me like every day, which is something that I'm used to with guys that I've dated. And so it was just very interesting to
Excuse
me.
me
And like,
for 1 second. I'm sorry for interrupting. Was that how he was when you first were having those calls? Or was there a change? You guys get together for the birthday dinner and then suddenly you're kind of feel like you're bothering him? Or was this kind of a consistent thing from his end?
I would say the beginning, before when we first exchanged numbers from Hinge, I would say that he was definitely more active in reaching out, because I was the one, like I said, that was a little bit more distant. Once we start having like the good conversation, before we hung out, I will say that I did notice kind of a drop in consistency in reaching out. And there was a moment where he I even think I texted him, I was like, did we break up? And he was like, no, I hope not, blah, 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 and I was like, okay, well, I hadn't heard from him.
Mm.
And made a joke before I had before we had really talked. He was like, oh, did you break up with me? Or so I just used that same rhetoric with him. So I will say that the consistency in the communication has been an issue from the beginning. Like it's not like it just
What about when you reach out to him? Is he responsive?
typically there's days where he is and there's days where he isn't.
Okay.
So you go on these dates, the conversation is a little bit different than you would like or have had in the past. And now, at what point do things break down?
So we broke down, I would say, in November, right before Thanksgiving.
Mm.
We were talking, and I was getting frustrated with the communication, and he was honest. This is one thing that I will say about him. He's been very honest and transparent in the majority of, in most things, I would say. But he was just like, hey, Natalie, like, I just don't think that I'm in the place to date. Like, I don't, I don't like to give you what you want right now. And I was like, look, like I appreciate that. I wish you would have just been honest. Like instead of just kind of making me draw my own conclusion. We ended up still having like a really good conversation that night. We talked for like an hour. And he was just like, I do genuinely like love talking to you. Like I will say, like, compared to just, other people, like the conversation with you is great. So we stopped and I was like, that's awesome, whatever. So we stopped talking for about a week, and he had written something on my like dry erase board on my fridge the time that he had come to my house. And I like glanced at it one morning and I looked at it and it made me laugh. And so I took a picture of it and I sent it to him. And it was just a like, you know, like, hey, saw this, made me think of you. How are you? Type of thing.
This is after the
After he tells
Thanksgiving
you that he's
conversation
not,
you
right.
had.
He's not looking for anything serious.
Yeah, it was a week right before Thanksgiving that we had that conversation. The Thursday before Thanksgiving, I sent him that text message on that Wednesday. And so he responded and he let me know he was in Vegas. And we had texted a little bit, but I wasn't thinking anything of it. Like I wasn't responding back and forth. So then that Friday, he texted me and was like, hey, what are you up to? Like, are you doing anything tonight? We talked on the phone. We were like, oh, maybe we'll hang out. We ended up both just not wanting to do anything that night, but he was like, hey, let's grab lunch tomorrow on that Saturday. So we went to lunch, and again, every time we're together, we have a good time, had a great lunch. And I basically told him, I was like, I think you're stupid. I was like, you talk about all the good things that I possess and that you want, but you're willing to lose that. I was like, I think it's stupid. And he was like, look, like,
Good for
I
you.
don't, like I said, he's 45. He has a 5-year-old. He is pretty confident that he doesn't want to have more kids. And he's like, I don't have kids. So he's like, I don't know if I'm jeopardizing for having kids. And I was like, that's fair. I appreciate that. But that is my decision that I have to make. And I'm not even still confident if I want kids on my own. So it's like, I think that's a decision that I have to make. And so, after that, we pretty much were in a good spot. Communication was better. If we wanted to see, like, we were seeing each other consistently. Right before the holidays, like, we had an amazing night together. I was going to Park City, like, right before Christmas, and he was going out of town, like, that following Saturday, but the communication was there. Like, it was really good. He had told me, like, you were so much more, he was like, you're more of a priority to me, because I was like, your communication has changed. Like, I was like, it's better. And he was just like, I wanted you to notice that you're more of a priority to me. Like, I do care about you, all of this. And then the new year started. And then we kind of went back a little bit in a space of, like, we even went through a period of he ghosted me. I would just say, I hate using that word, but like at the beginning of the year, New Year's was good. We didn't hang out for New Year's because he had his daughter, but we still were communicating. And then it was just, we were trying to figure out when we were going to see each other. And we had said that we were going to maybe hang out that Wednesday at the start of the year. And he was like, what are you doing later tonight? And I replied. And then literally he did not reply for, I think, a little over a week. And I was like, okay, F you. But then, like an idiot, we started talking again. I called him after he had texted me. It was right after, like, the Texans had won their playoff game. And he texted me and was like, congratulations on your team winning. I know you're excited. And I was like, fuck you. But like, I didn't even respond to him. And then
So you didn't respond to that.
I didn't respond that Saturday night, but then I went out that Sunday and I was with some friends and had a little bit to drink. And he's from Wisconsin, so he's a Packers fan. And the Packers won that night. They beat the Cowboys. And I was like, fuck this, I'm calling him. And so I called him and kind of yelled at him and all that. And he apologized. And, we actually kind of got in an argument that night because I just like went off again. And I was just like, it was really fucked up, blah, 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 blah. And, and I was like, look, if we're not talking now, we definitely aren't, if we weren't talking then, we definitely aren't talking now. Cause like, I like went off on him, but he called me the next morning and we talked and we went to dinner like that Wednesday. And he was like, again, I'm sorry. And it had been good, but then, and we're back in that same routine of like, it is just we're good and then we're not. We're good and then we're not. And I think a lot of it is just him in this space of like, I like you, but I don't want to be in a relationship right
now. Natalie, can I ask you a question? It's a little bit of a personal question. The physical stuff.
Yeah.
What's going on between you two physically from the beginning to kind of where we are at now? Like, I mean, because you talk about on and off and you talk about dinners and like, are you sleeping at each other's places? Are you being physical? Did it start that way?
No, it definitely didn't start physical. We didn't become physical until after the rekindling in November. And we've actually only been physical, I would say maybe 4 times.
Okay.
In this period, like in the beginning, we were definitely not, I mean, we would kiss, but it was very like, I had even gone to his house in the beginning. I had gone to his house like 2 or 3 times in the beginning, and we weren't physical in the beginning at all. And it wasn't until, like I said, after November that we started being physical. And then, again in December, we haven't been physical a lot, which is different, but not one of those things where it's like I feel like it's just sex, because that isn't something that, like, honestly, like, I'm the one that will push sex more than he will.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you're looking for a relationship, I assume?
Yes. I mean, right. Yeah.
Right.
Which is totally okay. Yeah. But like, what do you where are you at right now with this? Like, where does it stand?
So when I try to tell myself, like, look, I'm okay with where we are. I had a traumatic event occurrence happened last year. My mother passed away.
I'm sorry.
And thank you. So I've, just been processing that and just, kind of like dealing with all of, that aspect. That was another reason why he and I have both connected, is both of us have lost both of our parents. And so he lost both of his parents very young. And then I, recently, lost my dad 7 years ago, and lost my mom last year. So it was just kind of like that connection. And he even said that, he was like, I don't know if there's a reason why we're in each other's life, if it's the reason both of us have lost our parents, so with him, it's like, I want a relationship, but then I'm also like, I'm okay with just taking it as it goes. But I still want to feel like a progression in that space. I'm not saying that you have to be my boyfriend, we have to be Instagram official. I'm not saying any of that, but it's just the progression of knowing that it's exclusive, and we're progressing in that space where it's like, for me, I don't think we are, and for him, I don't know.
Right.
I don't know where his mindset is.
I mean, you've said that he's one thing that you do appreciate is that he has been very honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it does feel like he's kind of, I mean, has he ever gone back on the thing that he said by Thanksgiving, that he's not looking for a serious relationship? Has he expressed that he's changed that viewpoint?
No, he hasn't, but I would just say, I guess, maybe like the actions in that space where, it's like, okay, well, if you don't, then why do you want to hang out with me? I don't.
Right.
He I would say like a lot of it, I think, is me. It's just one of those things where it's like, all right, you either deal with it or you don't. But it's just, I think and I was telling Candace when I was talking to her initially, like a lot of it, like when I listen to episodes, because I'm a subscriber, when I listen to episodes and I hear Jared talk, I get so mad because I'm just like, fuck, just be in a relationship, like the person, like you're just gonna lose these good people. Yeah. And I think that's where I am a lot of times. It's like, you say I have all these qualities, you like everything about me, we have a good time.
Right.
Like,
what's the hold up?
Yeah, like why would you want to lose that? And
right.
I don't know.
Are we ready to let the monster speak for himself?
I can. Yeah, I'm sorry. I can tell.
There's a love-hate relationship that I have with you sometimes. Just be.
That's okay. As long as I'm not talking directly to you, but
might as well.
But I hear what's going on and I understand it, and I know this might make you angry. I don't mean to, but you kind of just said it. Like the answers in the emails, the answers in what you said. You're like, I'm allowing this for this to happen, and it does feel like even when you just said you get mad at me, just be with the person. It sounds like you're trying to win this a little bit, like, because you're like, it's all here. Like, he's the guy. I like him. I didn't like him at first. He should feel lucky. I'm younger than him. It's your words that I'm using because I'm listening to you and I'm hearing you. And
100%.
There's a very important thing that happened too. The fact that you were not physical. Then, and I think this is important.
Let's hear it.
You were not physical, and then he was straight up with you. He's like, this is what I'm looking for. This relationship that's not a relationship that I'm not going to commit to. Then a week goes by, and then you come to him with funny joke. Now he's doing nothing wrong, so he doesn't feel any guilt associated with this. So he's
already told you what he's about.
Right. He's given you kind of, he's shown you where the fence is. And then you go, okay, I'll come over. And
I'll presented the contract.
Right. He gave you a contract.
Right.
And then
you took a week to think about it.
Right.
And then you kind of sort of agreed to it.
Yeah, you signed his contract.
Right.
Especially when you come back with a joke. Especially when you come back with like a picture. And he's like, okay, I guess she's down for what I was honest about. And Jordana's question is a good one because it's like, if you haven't renegotiated, if you haven't had that contract talk, he's going to live by the contract you signed. And, again, why, there's a ton of reasons. I can't speak for him directly, but I can say when I've been in this situation, it's like with someone I really like and enjoy our conversations and have nice dinners and feel comfortable around, why isn't it more? I go, this is really what I like about this. I'm getting what I want. Maybe a marriage and responsibility for others and having to text back, having to, call when you're busy isn't what he's looking for. And you want someone who will make that time for you. Not when, because you're like, when we're together, it's easy. Yeah, it's easy to be a boyfriend for a weekend. It's easy to be a boyfriend for a 4-hour conversation. It's harder when it's just all the time. And I think he's, in his age of 45, he is what he is. Like, I don't know if it changes without you saying, I'm not going to give you the dopamine hit that I give you. And when you take that away, he's either going to go back to the apps and find someone that he can get to sign that contract again, or he's going to renegotiate with you. And
but he's not going to do anything unless you kind of say, this is my contract.
Right. And and that's why the physical stuff coming after that November thing, when you signed his contract, like that's kind of why that came a little easier to me, because it's like, oh, she's good. I'm not the bad guy. I already told her. So, and I know this is all disappointing things here because the answer to why, I can't give you that. Like, I don't know what
all we want.
Right. I don't know what his.
I get it. Yeah, no, I get it. I've been where you are. It's like if you are physically attracted to me, you like my personality, you have a great time hanging out. Like, what else is there?
Right. Yeah. What are you waiting on? And then especially when he brings up your decision to have kids, That's him trying to give a reason why that's like concrete, which isn't fair. He shouldn't do that. Like, I think that's wrong of him, but I understand where it comes from. He's like, well, she wants some answers. She's asking, why am I acting this way? He doesn't even have an answer. Maybe, through therapy, he could go, well, this is why I'm not going to this next step. I'm afraid. These are all things that I can't speak to, but I can say that, like, when he goes into your, decision to have kids, like, that's not his, it's not for him to say.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, he spoke about it. And I will say, because the guy that I dated previously, like, after my mother passed, or during the time that my mother passed, and after, that was a very big turning point in our relationship, in that person that I was dating, because he told me well after the fact that he didn't want kids, and that threw me off. Whereas this guy, he told me fairly early that he didn't know if he wanted to have kids. And it was maybe after our first or second date. So it was fairly early when he told me that. And I was like, okay, like, I think that's fair. He's like, I just want to be honest with you. And I was like, I think that's fair. I appreciate it. And then we still, like, continued. I think we hung out that night. We hung out, like, the next night, just like it's still progressing, but it was still progressing rather. But I do think that you are right. And it is kind of like a cool piece to hear. Just like, I did sign that contract, and I guess I never really looked at it that way. I think I looked at it as like, oh, well, he's like, he doesn't want to lose. Like, he's like, I don't want to lose her. So, let me make that effort and go to lunch and do all that.
Right.
I think I maybe was in a different way. And I mean, I think it goes to, like what Jordana said, like, why? Like, why would you not want to?
Well, and then he's not getting lunch with you not to lose you. He's getting lunch with you because he likes getting lunch with you. And because you'll agree to go to lunch, and it's a person to talk to. This guy's 45. I'm sure all his friends are married and have kids and have their own things going on. I can speak to that as a 39-year-old guy. It's like, I can't go get lunch with my college buddy. Like, it's but a little bit of going to lunch with someone you met on a dating app that you've told, where you stand, and they want more. It's a little of a dangle. Like, I'm getting you and the affection of you, knowing that, you kind of want more, but you've already agreed to not having more.
Right.
This is why we talk about the reveal, because the reveal, and it's the advice no one wants to take, because the reveal involves guilt. When I say, like, you're smoking someone out, when you say, I am off the dating apps, I'm going to concentrate on this relationship, and then you say nothing, and then they go, well, I know exactly where they are. I if I'm below that, I feel guilty. When he gives you the contract and you sign up for it, he has no guilt associated with hanging out with you for lunch.
And that makes a lot of sense. But that's the thing that's so weird. Like, even just Friday, so we hung out Friday night. He mentioned, and we were talking, because I was going to the Rodeo, and really big thing in Houston.
I mean, this is a very Houston specific episode. Okay.
But anyways, I was going to, the event, and we were on the phone, and we, told him that, like, we would see each other after, and we were planning where we were going, and somehow, and I don't even really remember what happened, because I was in the Uber and it was just in conversation, but he said something about me being on Hinge, and I was like, I'm not. He was like, are you still on Hinge? And I was like, not, I mean, like, I have it. And I was like, I mean, but you are. He was like, no, I'm not. He's like, I've deleted him a long time ago. And I was like, oh, you did? And I was like, okay. It was just a very weird, like.
Well, did you say, like, did you delete Hinge to pursue this?
I didn't ask that, but what he said was, he was like, he's like, I just don't want to give that much energy into it. Like, he was just like, it's too much. So he told me he deleted it. And I'm like, but I do like that. I should have asked that question.
Well, it's too much, because he already has kind of someone he's saying he has the situation he would look for on Hinge with you. Like, I think the Hinge thing is a good jumping off point. I think that's a good question that Jordana just brought up. Like, I think like, you have to be as unafraid of losing him as he is losing you. And if you want something different than you have now. And because he's not afraid at all. And maybe and this goes to like, we always talk about like men talk about the one that got away more than women do. And it's like, I think we're like retrospective instead of like work on it types.
Yeah.
So like you go, he's going, oh, I got everything I want. She's cool. We're cool, whatever. And then you go, if he mentioned Hinge, you go, you know what? I'm off of it because I'm looking to date you. But if you're not looking for that, I gotta like back away. And then he's, okay. You're right. I said I didn't want a relationship. And then he goes a week without you. You'd have to like remind him of like your contract.
Right. And that's the hard part because
That's
it's easy to be like, like confident and brave and like asking for what you want like one time. And I can say this from experience. Like it's easy to have like when you're in that moment of like, fuck this. Like when you sent the text about, like the sports game, and we're like, fuck this guy. Like, and you feel like strong and empowered. And then the next day you're feeling a little like, I'm lonely, or like, oh, I like that, but like I'd like prefer to like talk to this guy. Like we have such a good time talking. So that's really the hard time. And coming back with like you said, coming back and reminding someone of the contract when you really just want to talk to them is the really difficult part of it.
Especially when they're unoffended. Like that's the hardest thing is to debate someone who doesn't care.
Yeah.
And I don't, and I mean that. I think he cares, but I think he cares about you, but I think he's acting like someone who doesn't care about losing you. And again, like a lot of men, I would say generally I'll speak for myself, you don't taste that until it's gone. I don't think he's thinking that even at 45. I'm saying, I think 45, 39, 28, everyone thinks they're 25 as a guy. So I think his age doesn't matter to him. But that's so hard. I mean, I agree with Jordana. Like these are all things we're saying that are easier said than done.
Right. But yeah. I mean, do we want to draft a text?
Right. What do
are you comfortable with that?
So where are you at?
Yeah.
Like where are you at right now? How fed up are you? Because maybe you're just like like where are you at? I know you called us. You reached out to us. So it's not like we
we're doing this isn't an intervention.
Right.
Well, so if you would have asked me Friday, I would have been on or Saturday, I would have been on cloud 9, like happy, because we had just had a really good night. We had a good time. We, communicated like 5 things that we, think about I don't know how we got on this subject, but we were saying like 5 things that we like about each other, or that we, or when we categorize each other.
Tell me about that conversation, because that could be a good jumping off point for your text.
So we were talking about, I don't even know how we got here, but we were just sitting and we were, having drinks, and he was just like describing, he ended up basically saying like 5 things that if somebody had to ask him about, like somebody asked him 5 things about me, what he would say. And he would say,
excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt, but like this is Saturday at drinks.
No, Friday at drinks.
And you guys spent the night together that night?
Yes.
Okay, so Friday at drinks, did you guys do dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did a light bite because it was after the rodeo, so I had eaten. So we just did like drinks and just like walk.
And he came with you to the rodeo, right? This is the very Houston night.
No, I met him. No. I met him after the rodeo.
Where was
he? With my family, and then I met him after. He was at home. We met around 9:30, and he was just at home in, like I said, 45 minutes away from the city. So, he was just at home.
So, I mean, this should tell you we're ignoring very big details in this story. For someone that can't handle a relationship, 45 minutes away, you're at the rodeo Friday night, 9:30 at night, to get out of bed and go hang out and do a light bite and drinks. That's not nothing. Like,
well, that's the annoying part.
No, but I'm saying like that's, but that's evidence to like, I think I'm not asking, I don't think you're asking for more than that from a relationship. Like we have to like assess, like you're looking for progression. You're looking for commitment. You're looking for someone that would want to go out for drinks after you go to the rodeo or come to the rodeo with you. And he had the ability to do all those things that night. So, and then he's sitting there with you on Friday night telling you the 5 things he tells people about you or would tell people about you.
Yeah.
And what were those 5 things?
So he said smart, passionate, social, communicative, and fashionable.
I like those.
Those are all great things. What did you say about him?
I said that he is intelligent, genuine, determined, challenging.
Yeah, we could tell.
Bit of a challenge, yeah. Right.
I was like, I had to there. And I don't know why I can't think of the last one.
That's okay.
Well,
yeah.
So you guys have that nice night, light bites, drink. He comes home with you?
So great night Friday. He went out of town. He went to Philly on Saturday. We communicated a little bit. And then Monday and Tuesday, I know he had his daughter. So yesterday, like I texted him or I called him during the day. And I know sometimes like he works remote a lot. Like he has a, and I called him because I was like, I don't know if he's on a call, but typically he'll call me back, especially if I send him a text and I'm like, call me when you get a chance. And he hasn't called me. So today I'm pissed off.
We caught you at a good time to craft this text.
Right. So here's the worst thing that any guy can get is a text that says, a text from a woman that he's seeing saying, so I've been thinking. We don't like girls hooking up with thinking.
She didn't say I've been
no,
thinking.
that's how you have to start the text.
So we're gonna start that.
I'm telling you what I would least want to hear.
We're crafting. You don't have to send it now. We're just gonna draft it with you. If you send it, that's great. If you want to send it later when you're even more annoyed, that's also
right.
Okay.
And I think I think guys are fixers. You want to have you don't want vague. You want. Right. I've been thinking about our night Friday. And you said some things about me that I really loved hearing. And I said some things about you that I would want in a partner.
There we go.
And I've been really, as I'm thinking about this, it's like I don't like that I'm investing my time in someone that won't turn into something more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you have any issues with what's been said so far, with what's been suggested?
No, because that pretty much is where my mindset is, and that's the back and forth that I've been internally playing with myself.
Right.
Okay. I want all of these things, but we go back to again the truth is in the email. The truth is in what I'm saying. Like I know that ultimately what I want, and it's not so much like this, just I want just progression. And I want to know that when I pick up the phone and call you, you're going to either answer or call me back.
Right. Within a day, I mean, would be that's crazy. Yeah.
Consistency. And it's like, but then you look at my Instagram story. What the fuck are you doing?
Right. This is the thing. He doesn't it's rude, but he doesn't have to. You've signed up, and I'm not apologizing for him, but I'm just saying in the world he's living in.
There's no consequences of that.
Right. There's no guilt to, I look at her stories even though I didn't call her back because she's not my girlfriend. So that is,
and she'll keep seeing me.
Right. And that's where this text comes in, and the text is meant to say, I would even press on, I'm not looking for more than just progression and commitment.
And I actually do like that because I don't think I've ever said that. I've obviously been like, yes, I want a relationship, but I've never said that. And that's what I've been feeling a lot more lately. And I think that's why it's so at a boiling point for me, because I'm just like, are we even progressing? Like, where are we? I've never been that girl that was like, I gotta be in this relationship. Like, I'm fine with not being in that space. Me and my 10-year relationship, we dated for a year before we were officially together. Not saying that's a good or a bad thing. I don't know, but
it's just not what you want now.
Yeah. Like I'm okay with us growing, but I want to just feel the progression. And right now I just feel like we're at a standstill.
And you want to feel like he is open to a relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that, for me, a big reason why it's so hard for me to just walk away is because it's like, I like you. We have a good time. Like, great conversation. The physical is great. And it's just like, damn, when he's ready, I'm not going to be there, and that's going to piss me off.
Well,
and I know I look at it like that, but that's where I
as
look
the
at it.
guy, as someone a lot of women have probably thought that about. What is your response to that?
There's nothing you can do. If you try to win, you're going to lose, and that's what you're trying to do now. And I think let me ask you a question, and I think it can go into this text. If a year from now you are going to the same rodeo and getting drinks and light bites with him afterwards, would you be happy that that's where you are a year from now?
Same place you are now.
Same place you are now with him.
Yeah, not
Okay. So I think that needs to be said to him. A year from now, I want you at the rodeo with my family and then us getting drinks, talking shit about my family. If we're not working towards that, then I need to save my own emotional state and time and back away from that. And I'll give you time to think about that. I'll give you the space, but that's my offer. And I know a year from now that doesn't come, right away. I'm just saying that's an act of commitment and progression. That is the smallest thing in the world. And again, he's doing this because your age does play in. He knows. So he knows and you know. Again, a year from now, at 42, if that's all you're asking for, you're not really asking for very much. And not to say it wouldn't be more than that, but it doesn't, if you don't present that picture of what a year from now looks like, I don't think he'll go into, well, you don't, I don't know about you and having kids and that's so, it's a little, it's not gaslighting. I don't want to call it that, but it's a little bit like throwing stuff at you to shut you up a little bit.
No, I actually really, like I said, I have not thought about it as much until this conversation of I just want to know that we're progressing. And I think saying a year from now, that would definitely make me feel good. And then of course you just kind of gut punching me a little bit and be like, you can't do anything about it. In the space of, oh, well, if he's ready and then I'm not there, it's I can't do anything about it either way.
And it wasn't you being not enough.
Right.
That's the hardest part.
And if he's ready and you're not there, it's because you've met someone else and you've moved on to someone who wants to do that faster and who appreciates those 5 things that he really liked about you and doesn't want to lose them.
Right.
Yeah.
So
very much so.
Listen, as these SOS episodes go, this is easy for us to say.
Yes.
Hard to send the text, hard to give up the hug. I get it.
Hard to send the text and then hard to stick to it.
That's
always the issue.
Right. Diet and exercise.
As soon as you send the text, you feel pretty good. But then 3 days, it's 3 days later when you're going to be like, all right,
when he's
remind yourself a year, just keep picturing that thing of a year from now, where do I want to be?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that, make it tangible, make it a real thing. A year from now, the rodeo comes back to town and how do I picture it? And how do I picture it at the smallest amount that I would ever want? And the smallest amount you would ever want is that he's there with your family at the rodeo and getting drinks afterwards in a committed relationship. And that's honestly I don't know.
Not that much to ask, I would say.
I would say that too. So.
Yeah, I think that is perfect, honestly.
Okay. We want an update.
Yes, please send an update.
I will definitely send an update. Hopefully I can have that conversation this week. That will be the goal.
Amazing. Do you feel helped? I hope we helped you.
Oh, no, I do. And it's funny because I was like, I'm probably going to be in the same space, but I actually have a whole different perspective, especially just the whole progression. And a year from now, I think that's a very good place to be look, is this outlandish? I mean, am I wrong for that's where I want to be? Not am I wrong, but this is where I want to be.
Right.
Do you think?
Love it. We're so happy you came on. Thank you. I'm happy you don't hate me right now.
We'll see how the advice goes.
There's some days that I'm just ooh, Jared's triggering me. He's 39. I'm triggered.
Thank you so much for coming on. I mean, do you want to give out your socials? I mean, we say this to guys. It's only fair that we say it to women. Maybe
if
someone
anyone wants to
in the Houston
slide
area
into your DMs.
No.
Okay.
Okay. She's like, not looking for that.
But Jared, if I reply to one of your stories, reply one day. That would be nice.
Absolutely. I'm so happy you came on. Thank you so much for coming
Natalie.
on.
Thank y'all so much.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Great SOS.
We love it.
I love when you craft a text.
I like it too. Well, when I craft a text, it's really like, what would I be befuddled by?
What would fuck you up?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm like a genius. I'm just like, ooh, I would not want to get. So I've been thinking is
well,
like.
It's hard to get into the male brain. That's what I'm saying. That's why you are who you are.
Well, that's why we do such a great job, and I'm happy we helped Natalie, and she seems wonderful. Like I like
great.
her.
I feel like if it's not this guy, it will definitely be like another person very soon.
It's also so funny that we're like, hey, dude, like when we have a guy on, we're like, you want to give her social? She's like, yeah. And she's like, no, I'm more than okay. I don't. But listen, if you want your SOS, if you're out there and you got a juicy situation, send it in, uup@betches.com.
Yeah.
We love these episodes. I just love talking to the listeners and helping them through as much as we can.
And it's so great to see someone just kind of like, we talked about this before as a joke, but like someone is speaking to you, like they're speaking to the guy that just won't fucking just do it.
I'm frustrated with myself too sometimes.
The deal. Yeah.
So
anyway, well that's our show. We'll be back on Wednesday. Bye.
Boom.
The You Up podcast is produced by Jorge Morales-Pico, Sean Kilby, and Candice Maniga. Editing by Jorge Morales-Pico and Shannon Sassone. Social media by Candice Maniga. Guest booking by Ali Friedlander. Be sure to follow @u.up.podcast on Instagram and send us your emails to uup@betches.com.